Fame versus Hall of Fame right there.
He's like an alien out there.
He's good at everything.
I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a more valuable player in the NFL.
I know I've gotten Purdy and putting him in the graveyard, so no, we've got to make that happen.
It is game day, and there's the scene for this afternoon's showdown between the Browns and Niners, Huntington Bank Field, and this one is it's not going to be comfortable. It is wet, it is windy. I guess the rain might stop. Maybe it has already, but the wind's going to be brutal. 10-check will have a weather update for us in a little bit. But the tailgate back, Mark Schwab, Eric Metcalf with us this week, Josh Cribbs. Gentlemen, Shedeur Sanders, obviously a fine, I'd say good outing. They won the game. He played well enough to win last week. He was certainly much better than he was against Baltimore. Now he's coming home. First home start. How we all feeling today?
Well, I think, when you factor in the weather and factor in field conditions and the wind and everything that's typically at Cleveland Brown Stadium, you want to say he can still go out there and run the offense effectively, even throwing the ball down the field, making on-time throws and things of that nature that we expect him to do and coaches expect him to do. But it might be a weather. You got to consider the weather. It might be a running attack with a few throws here and there.
Yeah, he's going to have to make throws in order for them to win this game, particularly because of the weather. I think, as a coach, you go out there prior to the game, you check out the conditions and see if you have to change your game plan in any format just because of the weather. Because with Shedeur, as opposed to Dylan Gabriel, they're able to push the ball down the field further, and so the ball will be hanging, and now you got to play the wind and see how that's going to play out as far as throwing the ball down the field. And so I think it's imperative that we get the run game established. And so then he can go into throwing the ball, because at some point you're going to have to make throws, whether it be third and medium to long or just third and long, period.
Well, he has had success in worse conditions, and playing in Colorado, and and has success at it as well. So no NFL quarterback can, be at that helm and not play in these conditions. This is the AFC North football right here, where most of the season will be played in this. They have a handful of games, 6 games left, right? And 4 out of 5 of the last games stemming from last week will be played at home in these conditions. So you have to be able that can't be an excuse. So, with that in mind, we hope he go out there and just run the offense effectively.
Question for Josh, because Eric, when you were here, you generally had good quarterbacks. You obviously had a disastrous experience with this team.
Go ahead.
I guess what I'm wondering is, for the rest of that locker room, when you see a guy come off the bench, so to speak, it's what Shedeur's done. He hit the big throw, he got to Bond, and he wasn't amazing, but he certainly played well enough to win. What kind of a lift is that for the rest of the room? Like, okay, he might be all right.
Right. It's significant. We all know, the quarterback who throws to the practice squad guys, and, they typically can go one or two ways, just with the program or energetic with life, and you kind of rally behind that guy. And that's what Shedeur Sanders has, and that's what he brings to the table. This energy, this life. It's sort of like piggybacking off of what Jameis Winston had when we were in a losing season, but he brought so much life to this offense, life to the team. He was charismatic in the media, and it was like, even though we lost, he made it bearable, and I'm hopeful that Shedeur can go out there with the same energy, with the same pizzazz, and win games, and not just, pick city, put up high numbers, but run the offense effectively to the point where we can see a real quarterback developing here. Progression every Sunday, every time he steps on the field, he's not regressing, he's getting better and better.
Yeah, and obviously you guys mentioned the weather. That's going to make it harder this week for him, for anyone out there, whether it's Brock Purdy, who's been phenomenal in his young career. By the way, another guy who was a late draft pick, overcame the odds, beat out a high draft pick in Trey Lance. All right, hey, from OBR, how can the 2025 Browns defense repeat the success that the 23 team had against the 49ers? One more thing to talk about. Oh, my goodness. The gray skies, I'm cold just looking at that. The wind's blowing, the camera's wet. Goodness. Tailgate, off and running here on 19.
Hopefully we'll get lucky with weather, but we're assuming the worst.
I've played in rain before, and I've made it happen before. I've gotten the job done before. And
I haven't really seen snow, woken up and seen snow, so I'm liking it right now. I'm kind of like a kid, on Christmas, looking outside and seeing snow.
Can't give you our secrets, but we're going to air it out, throwing it every play. The harder it rains, the more we're going to throw.
Hey there, guys. Wild weather day at Huntington Bank Field through the afternoon. Not because of the rain or snow. That's out. It's going to be the wind and the drop in temperature here. This is the setup on our First Alert Future View at 1 o'clock this afternoon. You can see no rain or snow. At worst, we may have a few flurries, but air temperatures are going to be like around, low to mid 30s here. Check out the winds. Then this is going to be the story out of the southwest. We are going to be gusting certainly over 40, if not over 50 miles an hour during the game here. You're going to see a lot of those shots on TV of those orange flags on the uprights. Because wind is going to play a major role here with a sustained wind at kickoff, southwest at about 28, temperature 33, but gusts over 50. Again, wind chills are going to be around 20, and it looks like throughout the course of the game, a lot of cloud cover. Again, minimal, snow, just perhaps a few flurries, 33 at 2 o'clock and 33 at 4 p.m. here. Now, Shedeur Sanders, I think he'll be okay. He played in Colorado. It's not exactly a tropical climate, but along the shores of Lake Erie, late November here, kicking game, passing game certainly affected because of the wind, guys.
Now, Bench Strength, sponsored by Wayside Furniture.
40-mile-an-hour winds. Okay, thanks, Tan. Bench strength. We're going to talk about Isaiah McGuire here for just a minute. He had a great day against Vegas, right? 7 tackles, 4 for solo, 2 for loss. Hit the quarterback, sacked. That was one of those games where it sounded like everybody on the defensive line got into the act. But, with Isaiah, we talked about this, I think, at times along the way. We always talk about Myles so much, and for good reason. But his supporting cast needs to help him also. He can't be the only one. We've seen Alex Wright get extended, McGuire. These are the types of guys they need because not everyone's going to be a first-round pick. Not everyone's going to be a big, flashy free agent signing. You need your guys that were taken in the mid to lower rounds to develop. McGuire's playing well.
And I was about to say, and I think that's part of the reason that Myles is thriving. I mean, he is clearly the best defensive player in the league right now. But because these other guys are getting to the quarterback and doing their job, it makes it easier for him to make plays because the offensive line can't double team him all the time because the other guys are making plays away from him. And so these guys are stepping up and doing their job as they're supposed to.
And not just that, at some point, offenses of coaches, the coordinators will have to circle the other guys and say, not just Myles Garrett. Okay, we usually have to circle this guy and he put 3 guys on him, but we're only going to put 2 on him this game, and we got to get some other guys wrapped up as well. You want to get to that point where you can get it from everybody. But what people aren't saying enough of is it's Swart's defense. It's a plug and play. It's beginning to be, hey, when you get healthy, you're going to succeed in this defense. If you acquired by our team, you're going to come here and you're going to succeed in this defense. Like Campbell, that we had that trade with Newsome, he's progressing and he's playing really well. And everybody who's coming off an injury and being plugged into this defense is playing really well. And it's a tip of the hat to the play of Myles Garrett and his supporting cast.
I want to talk about David Njoku. He's just not had a big year. First of all, this was last week. Only 50% of the snap share. They didn't even look his way in the passing game. He is on pace for 46 catches, 445 yards. He was a former first-round pick. It's a tight end-heavy offense. He is your best tight end. What's going on with him this year?
I can see a little bit of phasing out that's happening because for me, I was adamant that him and Fannin needed to be on the field at the same time to give the multiple weapons to this offense that it deserves because of the position that we're in. Put all your weapons out there, right? But I am consistently seeing, I felt like last game he was injured. I'm like, dang, where is the Chief at? He's making a cameo here and there. He's just not in the game, in the playbook, in the game plan. When we see Fannin get wildcat, in weeks past, we saw Fannin get a lot of targeted plays and screens. I wanted to see the same thing on the opposite side with David Njoku. I think these 2 guys are your best weapons offensively outside of Juckins, you know, and they're not being exploited enough. And especially when you're trying to throw the ball down the field, these guys are instant mismatches as it relates to a DB or a linebacker trying to cover them.
I think when we talk about last week, especially, and him not playing as much or getting any targets, I think it has a lot to do with the play calling and what they're doing, because now that you have a quarterback who can push the ball down the field, your personnel is changing. You're putting more receivers out there. You're not playing as much two tight end personnel.
I would have loved to see that 3 tight end set that we seen, you know, a couple years. I mean, come on, these are your good athletes right here.
Stefanski loves all the tight ends on the field. He thinks it can give him a lot of options. Tailgate continues right after this.
The Injury Report, sponsored by the man that makes them pay, Tim Misney.
All right, so Nick Bosa, the Buckeye great, of course, he's been in the league quite a while now. He's had some injury problems throughout his career. When he's on the field, he is amazing. He is not playing for the Niners, out for the season, torn ACL. Also, one of their better players, a guy named Fred Warner, out for the season with a broken ankle. He is also a huge headache for offenses when they're on the field. The Niners have won 8 games despite having maybe their 2 best defensive players, certainly 2 of their best. How do you overcome that?
Well, next man up mentality. These are NFL guys. The next man up has been highly recruited and touted as well. So when we talking about, you know, guys coming in because of injuries and playing, that's where you find your greats, you know, because of injury. The next man up. That's how we found, the NFL found Tom Brady because of Drew Bledsoe went down. So when you live off that mentality and you have depth at positions, this is where you look at who's their general manager and who's in, you know, the staff. When you see that the guys behind are just as good, if not, you know, better than the starters that were in there. So, you know, I looked at, me and Metcalf was talking about, you know, they're still winning games, but I did look at who they're playing as well. They just beat the Arizona Cardinals, who are struggling, and then the Carolina Panthers. So I wouldn't, bark too much about those type of wins, but a win is a win in the NFL when you're struggling to find them.
When it comes down to it for them, I think they do a great job of coaching, whether it be offense or defense, because they've always gotten injuries to a lot of key players. And this year, when you're talking about their defense, when you're missing a Joey Bosa, who's a guy who they're Myles Garrett, right? It changes how an offense calls their plays because of his rush and his ability to make plays at the line of scrimmage. And to have Fred Warner out, who is your quarterback on your defense, who makes all the plays and all the calls, is really troubling for a defense. But I got to give a lot of credit to Robert Saleh, because he's able to put these guys who step in position to make plays.
Well, I feel like from that, will we be able to, utilize the skill sets of those guys being gone? Will we be able to run the ball better, throw the ball even more, without these key guys in there, where our offensive lines hold up and Joey Bosa's not there, so now we can protect everybody and give Shedeur and company enough time to run the offense effectively and have success.
We were talking about Shedeur a little bit earlier as could he be the guy that's the late-round guy? You mentioned Brady, obviously. He's the all-time example. This dude right here was Mr. Irrelevant. Brock Purdy has turned into the franchise quarterback for the 49ers. Every time I see something like this, I always think, how did the entire league screw up so bad in the draft? And if Shedeur turns into this type of player, people are going to be wondering that too. It's amazing that the best in the world can screw up that much and let a franchise quarterback fall to Mr. Irrelevant.
I don't know if it's really screwing up as much as it is being in the situation that he's in. He has Kyle Shanahan, who's a great play caller. He has McCaffrey, he had all the receivers, and Kittle at tight end. He has a Hall of Fame left tackle. So he's in a situation where he can make plays because Kyle does a great job of calling plays and putting those guys in position. So I'm not saying that he's not a good quarterback, but I'm saying if he's in a different situation, does he thrive like he is there?
I was going to say the same thing. Had he failed to a different program, a different team, a Carolina Panthers,
a Cleveland Browns,
had he would have failed tremendously. We probably wouldn't know his name, right? He probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to start. And it's all in your situation. Now I look at the situation what happened with Eli Manning and different quarterback when they get to try to pick their team and say, I'm not going to this team. Now we see those kind of unravel when it matters where you go and where you play your NFL years.
No question. Everything around Purdy has certainly helped him. Hour 43 to kick off, and some loose change there on the countdown clock. If the Browns actually win this, wow, is it going to be a fun week of talk. Tailgate continues right after this.
Let's go. Shake it. Lead us, baby. Let's go. Be the best. Let's go. Keep taking advantage of the opportunities, all right? Let's be the best. All right, JK. If you would have cut it back right here, I was right on your hip. I was finna drive them two into each other. I don't think you can see me. I was probably a couple steps behind you. I saw two dudes. I was riding the back of 10. Yeah, you would have had to do that. I didn't know you were scooting like that. I wasn't, but.
Now the Pigskin Poll, sponsored by your Northern Ohio Hyundai dealers.
This is great. We'll get to him in a minute. We do this every week, the Hyundai Pigskin Poll. We take a question. We put it on the news. We ask the folks to go and vote. They go to the website and vote. Gentlemen, this week's question, who is the best former Browns assistant still in the NFL? Bowles, O'Connell, Shanahan, or Vrabel? None of these guys have won a Super Bowl as a head coach. They've had varying degrees of success. They've had varying degrees of quarterbacks and staffs and things like that around them. Who do you think's the best?
Well, name recognition for me. You know, when you talk about football greats, the name Shanahan, it's just name recognition. It's just NFL greatness, NFL royalty, when you're talking about coaching in this league. Then I'll go to Todd Bowles, and in that order, maybe a Vrabel, maybe it's a toss-up between the third.
I'm straight to Kyle Shanahan because he's taken the team to the Super Bowl. He's been the offensive coordinator of another team in the Super Bowl. And since he's been at Frisco, he has found a way to make his offense and his team be successful regardless of who is out there. I mean, especially when you're talking about his offense and the way he calls plays. He's had multiple injuries throughout his best players for years, but they still are competitive. They still go out there and thrive and get lots of yards and score lots of points. So he's always putting them in position to win, and so that's why I like him.
All right, let's see what the folks had to say on this one. Drum roll, please. The results to the poll.
Recency
Mike
bias.
Vrabel.
Yeah.
Recency bias.
Yeah, recency bias. He's also from here.
Right.
Walsh grad, former Buckeye.
Right.
And you're right, recency bias. He was just here last year. Shanahan second. That doesn't surprise me. O'Connell's been off to a great start with Minnesota in his career there, but these two guys have done more. Bowles has been fine. I think he's a good head coach, but he hasn't reached a Super Bowl, and he doesn't have the star power name as Vrabel. And this is a guy, you know what, some people have wondered, I think we've talked about it on this show, should the Browns have done more to try to keep him last year, which would have meant basically they had to fire Kevin Stefanski.
I think I was just about to say that's all you could do.
That's all you can really do in this case. So, but there's been so many assistants. Like producer Chris picked that question, and I looked at him like Todd Bowles was here. I mean,
right.
You had a revolving door of people.
Absolutely.
With revolving door of head coaches come revolving doors of assistants.
I forget that I was on a team with some of these coaches. I'm like, oh wow, he used to coach with us. I forgot I was on a team with some of these players. It was a revolving door for players. Manuel Acho played. He was drafted by the Browns and played.
Yeah.
I didn't even. Somebody had to tell me, yeah, he was there when you was there. I was like, for real?
People don't remember like Bruce Arians.
Right. He was here for 5 seconds.
He's a Super Bowl winning coach.
Exactly.
Right?
People couldn't wait to fire him. Look how that worked out. All right, as we go to break, it's My Cause, My Cleats this week, and Myles Garrett is wearing these in honor of his friend Luke Laufenberg, a former teammate at Texas A&M who died of blood cancer back in 2019. Luke was just 21 years old, and the hashtag on the cleats says, "Live like Luke."
Nice.
When we were in college and we were spending, time on the field, time after school, and after practice together, just bringing back those memories. And I always wear his wristband, reminding me of his message and the kind of person that he is. So I just wanted to, bring it full circle and show how much, he left an impression on all of us, including myself. And he was a hell of a person, and I'm better because I knew him.
Around the AFC, sponsored by your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places.
We go around the AFC. We do it every week. Some games already in the books. The Chiefs picked up a loss to the Cowboys. Bengals knocked around the Ravens on Thanksgiving night. But you look at the rest of this docket. I'm guessing Bills at Steelers.
I see another one.
You see another one, okay.
Texans, Colts. The Texans they're heating up right now. You got the Colts are one of the top teams in the AFC, and Daniel Jones is hurt right now. So now the Texans are fighting back to get a chance at capturing the division.
I like the Bills Steelers, just to see how, they'll match up against the Bills, who are trying to be a dominant team. If they want to be a dominant team, they got to beat teams like the Steelers. And the Steelers are just a team that's just hard to beat when you have Coach Tomlin, who finds a way out of no way. So that's the game I'm gonna be looking at.
Look at that. The Browns in the hunt category. In the hunt, all that means is you haven't been eliminated, or maybe you have more than one win.
Go ahead and bring us back down to reality. Why don't you?
3-8. Come on, you're not in the hunt.
Way to kick us.
You're not hunting for anything.
I don't know, man. We might be all chanting perfect timing like we was talking about Flacco fever, depending on how Shedeur and the offense reacts in this game. So
all right,
we'll see.
so one of our esteemed members here on this panel was a small topic of conversation this week in Berea. Jim Schwartz talking about Christian McCaffrey and then going other places with it.
There's a lot of things that Christian does that reminds me of my old days here with the Browns with Eric Metcalf. Very similar and things. I say probably McCaffrey has a little more inside run ability. Both of them really talented in the passing game, both talented on the perimeter. McCaffrey can also run inside and run with power.
All right, Matt, all we hear is you couldn't run between the tackles.
Wow.
I didn't want to.
Wow.
You got to run through people. I want to run around them. But, that's a great compliment because he has been Offensive Player of the Year. He does a lot of things for that offense. And that team basically goes offensively how he goes. If he's not on the field, they don't really win that many games. But when he is on the field, he dictates how defenses play against the 49ers. So that's a compliment from him. And once again, he didn't return kicks and punts either.
Nope.
So
I was going to say the same thing. When I had the opportunity to talk, I was going to say to get compared to a great running back, who's, and I relate things to fantasy, who is taken off the board in fantasy first, second overall all the time, but not since the injuries, but to be compared to a guy like Christian McCaffrey, but then have so much more that Metcalf can do as far as the return capabilities, wide receiver. McCaffrey couldn't do that, so there we go.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Matt, I know
it is biased, but
I think it's come up occasionally on this show, but it bears worth repeating. You were truly a man ahead of your time. If you were at your prime right now in this NFL, dude, you have to look at some of these offenses and to just be like salivating at what you could have done with the skill set you had playing in a league that wasn't built really for your skill set.
Right. I would love to play now. I'd be rich too.
You would.
I would be rich.
That's the biggest part. Veterans always say that.
I would be
like, y'all
rich.
making how much now?
But it would be so much. It would have been so much more fun to play it today for me because now I could be a guy who could play every down because like a McCaffrey, he doesn't have to come out on first and second down and wait to third down to get in. He's not considered a third down back because of the way offenses are spread out and they can put him in different positions. So he can play first, second, and third down and just make plays, and they do a great job of doing that.
Just a note, you would have been wealthy because also you would have been getting paid in college as well.
At the University of Texas.
Yeah, that part.
You would have done well. That's right. All right. Myles Garrett versus Trent Williams. Who wins? That is something we are talking about soon here on the tailgate. Under an hour and a half now till kickoff. Browns and Niners in a wet, windy, gross day down on the lakefront.
I don't even think about it as a want. I just think about something that I'm going to knock down. Like it's already been written in my mind that it's going just how far I'm going to take it. So just going to go out there and do what I do and, whatever number I end up at.
You got a number in mind?
Yeah.
And it is?
It's written on my tape, so if y'all are fortunate enough to see it, then y'all know.
Now the Quick Picks, sponsored by your local Kia dealers.
Myles Garrett's trying to pick up a new record. He is in hot pursuit of the NFL's all-time single-season sack record. It is 22.5. Myles has 18. Today, lined up across from him, assuming Myles lines up where he normally lines up, will be Trent Williams. I think at one point we had a soundbite in the show here. It's Hall of Fame versus Hall of Fame. It absolutely is. How do you guys feel about this matchup?
I feel good about it. But deciding who wins or not, right? The matchup, it for me is how do you measure it? Is it just them one-on-one when they face each other one-on-one? And why would San Francisco 49ers do that? Why would they put Myles Garrett up against Trent, regardless of who he is, right? And to say, all right, best on best. Sometimes the best on best doesn't really apply in this situation if this one guy is just that much dominant, right? So is it going to be Trent and the tight end? Is it going to be Trent, tight end, and the running back against Myles and see who win? And how do you measure, success? Is it 2 sacks? Is it quarterback hurries? I think Myles Garrett will has forced this offense to practice in such a way that his effect has already been shown. Before they played.
It's kind of like you said. It's kind of hard to judge who's actually the winner of the matchup, but it is a great matchup. These two guys are probably the best at their positions in the league, right? And so when we're talking about Myles lining up against Trent, Schwartz is a defensive coordinator who's going to move Myles around, so he's not going to be over Trent as much as we think.
Absolutely.
I would think, and then when you're talking about Kyle calling plays. When Myles is over Trent, he might single block him, but run the other way.
Absolutely.
Right? And so it's kind of hard, but what we do get to see is two greats playing against each other in this game for however many plays it is. And that's all you want to see when you're talking about the NFL.
At some point, they're going to have to just straight drop back and block Myles one-on-one, and with maybe only a chip at some point. And that's when you'll see best on best. In the middle of the game, both are tired, both are, bleeding, cold, whatever the conditions may be, NFL football conditions, and you'll see, who propels and who's dominant.
But that goes back to Kyle calling plays. And if Trent is blocking him mano-a-mano, it might be 3-step drops. And Myles doesn't have a chance to get there. He might be just getting the ball out of his hands. Yeah. So it makes it hard to kind of say who wins the actual matchup.
I always think of something Joe Thomas once said, where obviously he was a great left tackle, Hall of Fame career, and he said we could have 35 dropbacks in a game. You get 1 sack, you celebrate, everyone just shows your moment. I beat you 34 out of 35 times. Shut up. Right. You know what I mean? And that's where it's like I don't know where to draw that line. Sometimes it's, you just know because maybe the guy has 3 or 4 sacks. Maybe they are doubling and trip. But there are times it's like,
impact. Impact.
And with this matchup, it's a big matchup because you have Trent Williams, who's a Hall of Famer, and at the same time you have Myles Garrett, who's trying to get the record, the sacks record. And so it's big for this game and just for a football period.
I'll just rate it on this impact. If blocking Myles Garrett creates touchdown, explosive plays, and he could have made a difference, rather than if that sack leads to a fumble or is monumental in an important down, it's impact, and I think that will decide their fate of who did best.
We got the inactives. They've popped here. I don't think there's anything surprising at this point. Zach Zinter never plays. I'll tell you what, third-round pick. I think they were hopeful for him. A lot of people were hopeful for him. It just maybe someday, but we're like 3 years into this. He never plays. Jamari Thrash, he's inactive, but I mean he's a nice guy. He works hard.
Hutchinson, I want to see how he's going to do. I wanted him to play this game.
Well, let's see. Shedeur's going to want all the receivers he can get. He will not have Thrash. What do the Browns need from him? Now in his second start. Tailgate continues right after this.
What did we think of Shedeur's first start, Coach?
I would pump the brakes on that a little bit. The throw we keep watching was against an all-out blitz. The Browns don't even pick up the blitz. It's a horrible blitz by the Raiders because they don't contain a right-handed quarterback. They let him out to his right. He made a great throw. But I'm not going to jump off the table yet because he threw a bubble screen for a 70-yard touchdown against the worst entry I've ever seen on defense.
Now, who needs to deliver? Sponsored by Jets Pizza. Jets, better because it has to be.
All right, so that's Coach Gruden with some criticisms might be too strong, but I think some strong statements there. He's not wrong. The touchdown pass was a screen pass that the guy ran 70 yards, which certainly padded the yards and the touchdown. But does he sound like a Grinch?
Can we say this? If he was coaching that team and Shedeur threw that pass for him, he'd be praising it.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
He would be praising it. Great play. You made the play. We didn't pick it up, but you made the play. He'd be praising everything that quarterback did. And so when he's saying they're playing the Raiders, we get it. But at the same time, that doesn't mean he's not good. All we need him to do is be the best player he can be for this team. And so that means going out there, playing good, smart football, making winning plays. That means throwing the ball away if he has to. That means don't take the 15-yard losses for sacks and everything. Just going out there and making plays to win games. And then you don't have to pump any brakes. You just keep going forward, all gas.
I think without him just congratulating him, right, a quarterback who's making the right read, we can't go off of, the defense blew the coverage, so now our dominance of them messing up counted for a score. That's what a quarterback is supposed to do. Recognize the blown coverage. Okay, you lost contain. I exploited it. I have an easy pass. I mean, it's not easy until you do all those steps, right? We seen weeks prior Dylan Gabriel, not to bring him back up in that manner, overthrow a
on
screen.
Screen passes, yes.
And the guy was wide, and he was wide open, and he could have went the distance. So when we say that something like that is so easy, it's not for everybody.
And Gruden would have gone nuts if his quarterback threw the ball over the receiver's head on the screen play, because that's what kind of coach he is. He's all in.
So doing what you're supposed to do is herald it in this league. And we're not rating Shedeur to everybody. We're rating him as a Browns quarterback right now. And right now, he's doing the things that we see causes progression and success.
I'll say
Keep doing it.
You don't hear people discount big plays made against the Browns because they were made against the Browns. You made the play. All right, there's more to talk about there, but I want to get to Justin Tucker for a minute because the former Ravens kicker who has found himself in a Deshaun Watson-type situation with allegations and things, had a 10-game ban. He has served that. The Ravens have moved on from him. He had a tryout with the New Orleans Saints. They did not sign him. They actually signed Cade York. But with I don't know, do you want this guy on your team? I know he's a kicker, so it's a little different than a quarterback or somebody like that.
He's not just a kicker. He's a Hall of Famer.
But he still playing. He wasn't as good.
He wasn't. And he was on his way out. And it was his time. It was almost his time to walk away, right? Because he's, like you said, he's a Hall of Fame kicker. It's mental for these guys. He can still kick. He just got to find his way. I feel like he had just a case of the yips, if you ask me. His job is not too difficult. It's a lot of mental that goes into that, when you're talking about specialists. But he's capable, right? I mean, we can all feel like he's capable, but he has to find his way. Why is this Hall of Fame guy not being as good as he used to be? The leg is still there. He's just mishitting him.
Well, obviously, the team that he just tried out for thinks he still has the yips because they took Cade York. And so I think, when you have a Justin Tucker, he had all the allegations.
Or he might be
cheaper. And he's working on, just trying to be on a team. And he's got a lot of things going on mentally as well. So if you're not fully focused on kicking the ball as well as your skills are diminishing, it makes it hard to keep you around.
I think so. I think he's more of a emergency type, acquisition for a team, not a future, prospect.
All right. Yeah, and you do have to wonder, did they go with York because he's cheaper? Because York also no stranger to the yips. We've got one segment to go. Brandon Aiyuk losing a lot of money for being kind of stupid. I'm going to run this past you guys. Stick around.
What happened in July to cause that voiding?
I'm not going to get into specifics of that. There was a number of things from July that, to me, is more of a business side, dealing with lawyers and stuff and contracts and stuff that is really not my area of expertise.
This is a guy, obviously, the team felt, and you felt good enough to give a very large contract not very long ago. Is there disappointment that it's gotten to this with Brandon and the 49ers?
Yeah, of course. I've been coaching over 20 years, and I've never been in a situation where a contract's been voided.
Follow the money. Sponsored by Cardinal Credit Union.
Sure. All right, so Brandon Aiyuk this week in the news in San Francisco, he basically didn't show up to meetings and practice, and so they voided nearly $27 million of guaranteed money from his contract. How does that even happen?
Well, I think that's a misstep that your agent prepares you for as well. Even if it's not $27 million, and it was, back in the day for me, a couple $100,000. Go to OTAs, go to off-season training, go to these certain events, and then you automatically, you don't even have to practice. You just got to be there to get this and not have it voided. So for him to have such a misstep like that for $27 million, go and then donate it then. If you don't care about the money and it's not, and you're trying to prove a point, go, don't practice, get the money and donate it and make a big spectacle of how much money you donated. But to just, forfeit that, I just don't see the intelligence behind it.
This was him in shorts. This is from like a year ago, I think.
That's the easy way of me saying.
Remember he got sent to the locker room because he was wearing the wrong colored shorts for practice? Like, he just didn't care. He was just going to do his own thing.
And before he got paid, he had a long
trade stout. Yeah, they
hold out and everything.
Yep.
And so I think right now it's one of those situations where he got a couple years of the money, and now he feels like that's enough, but I really don't want to be in this situation. So that's just his way of trying to get out that situation, because now they can cut him and it's not going to count. And so now I think it's about him just not wanting to be there because he just doesn't feel it's the place for him.
Why do, and it's like an epidemic sometimes of athletes sometimes choosing that route of, destruction, right, and disturbance to prove a point, as opposed to going out there. And it's more prevalent now in this age, because I remember Jim Brown, when I was going through a situation, that whole pay-to-man thing, and Jim Brown told me, hey, just play and the money will come. It did. It doesn't work out like that a lot of times for different players when they have requests to get a trade or to make more money. But the way athletes sometimes choose to do it, I think, tarnishes their brand on and off the field.
I want to know, you guys are both wearing hats. Josh, yours is fine, but I got to talk about Mets.
Mine is fine also.
Make Browns great again. A lot of people are going to see that and think, where can I get that hat?
I've already been texted.
You've already been texted.
I've received texts
on the show.
On the show. And then so I'm wearing this hat because a couple weeks ago I said that I wanted to be in the front office. And so this is part of my campaign.
Oh, I like that. I like that, Matt. I'm going to have to learn from Matt and be like, and not against my guy Bubba, make Brown special teams assistant good again. I told you I'm not ever going against my guy Bubba. I'll join him rather than talk about him. So there you go.
We got to do what we got to do.
It's not normally a political show, but the first candidate that mandates a Browns return to greatness.
I love it.
We'll get votes all across. By the way, the Browns aren't wearing those hats, but they do have some cool threads today. Just a classic. Brown jersey, white pants, orange helmet. You can't beat it. That's what they're wearing today. That's the drip, as the kids like to say. Today on 19, we do have the Browns and Niners. They put the foot to it at 1, and then that Steelers game as well. They take on Buffalo in a 4:25 start. Mabaga! Make the Browns great again. It starts today against the Niners. For Josh Cribbs and Eric Metcalf, I'm Mark Schwab. See ya!